Hi, I'm Maggie. I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist. I have degrees in psychology, theology, and marriage and family therapy, and a national certification in dialectical behavioral therapy. In this video, I'm not seeking to diagnose anyone. I'm only willing to offer insight into situations like these. Hello, happy Wednesday. It's time for another Shadow Work Wednesday. All right, Adric is first. So pinned his comment. Hi, Adric. Thanks for being here. Nina is second. Hi, thanks for being here. So today we are going to talk about projection. And it's one of those things that it's a human behavior. It's something that we all have to watch. We have the tendency to do it. It's a defense mechanism. It's a protection mechanism. So we're going to talk about projection is injection and what it does, because this is shadow work, right? So what it does to our inner selves, our subconscious, our shadow, our inner child. Adric, is this your very first shadow work? Wow, I'm excited. Okay, so the reason why projection is injection is because your subconscious, which is where your subconscious is not where we're actively thinking, it's below right? It's below the surface. So it's working on problems. It's kind of going over some things. Your subconscious is where your dreams come from. That's actually what dreams are. It's when things are happening in your life and it goes into your subconscious so that your conscious mind, your ego, can interact with the world. So it sits down there in the subconscious. The subconscious is like the shadow, right? Remember how we talked about there's multiple different words for the same kind of thing or the same idea. So our subconscious is always in our mind, but it's part of us. It's just, it sits under the surface. But your subconscious, because it never comes to the conscious level, it never interacts with the world, right? It's always subconscious. It knows nobody but you. It's never interacted with anybody else. The only human that your subconscious knows is you, right? Because our conscious mind, our ego, interacts and interplays with our subconscious. The only time the subconscious takes control and the conscious mind shuts down is when we're dreaming. So this is why in psychology, in therapy, sometimes people will talk about, or the therapist will want to know about your dreams. How are you sleeping? Are you having dreams? Are you having nightmares? Because that tells us what's kind of boiling in the subconscious. No matter how good you are at stuffing down your problems or compartmentalizing, your subconscious is always going over those problems. It doesn't care that you tried to pack them away. It does not care. I'm excited to have you here, Adric. Okay, it's a little pressure. Okay. So, and in case y'all forget, always have my notes right in front of me to keep me on track. I have a little bit of, no, I have ADHD diagnosed. So I have to keep the notes right in front of me. Okay. So the conscious mind moves in your mind, right? The subconscious holds all things pertaining to mind. So whatever you're thinking about, you've thought about, you're resonating on, the subconscious kind of plays with that interacts with you in your dreams. Um, and the one of the biggest examples if I can that I can tell you that the subconscious never interacts with the real world is because in our dreams, our subconscious doesn't know the laws of nature, like gravity, right? So this is why sometimes people fly. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't know the laws of nature. And so dreams don't have to, if I mean, they might on accident or just in the nature of what's going on, but they don't have to follow the laws of nature. Um, it doesn't know that vampires don't exist, but it knows you thought about them or you watched a movie about them, right? Because then you were thinking on it and it sat in there. Um, so it doesn't know that vampires don't exist, so they'll show up in your dreams, right? Vampires or monsters and werewolves, this slime guy, Godzilla. You know what I mean? It doesn't know that those things don't exist. It exists to the subconscious because you've thought about it. Like it doesn't know that dogs don't talk. And so maybe you're having a dream and your dog tells you good morning, right? We all have, when we have dreams, we think about them and it's like, that was weird. Right? Like all these different weird things happen because subconscious doesn't know the real world. Subconscious only knows you. So to your subconscious, you are the only one that exists. And like we've talked about before, you are the only one that you can prove to yourself exists. You can't be in anybody else's mind. You can't prove that you are not plugged into the matrix or that you are a brain in a jar having an experience. The only thing you can prove to yourself is that because you have inner thought, you have thoughts, you have a mind, so you know you exist in some way, right? So the subconscious only knows what we tell it through our thoughts and our feelings. Okay. That's why also in dreams we have feelings. Interestingly enough, we can have sensory experiences in dreams. Like we see things, obviously, sometimes we can feel things. Touch is really weird in a dream. We don't often get that, but we can smell things. At times we can taste things. So that's where that sensory information comes in, and senses and feelings are very closely related. So the thing is, while you may think about other people, essentially telling your subconscious about other people, um, to the subconscious, you're the only one that's here. Okay, so think about it this way. To the subconscious, you and the subconscious are sitting around a fire while you tell it stories of humans from a different time or a different place, or because again, it never interacts, it only interacts with you. And so these humans must not exist. These are stories, right? You're just telling it stories around a campfire of other people. It never gets to interact with those other people, so they're not real. Okay, Nina says, "Oh, I get it." Okay, right? Because the only information it has is you. So anything you give it is just stories. You and your subconscious are sitting around a fire telling stories. Okay. Sometimes it'll make dreams. That's how it tells you stories. And other times it's getting the information that you're thinking about and experiencing. And that's you telling your subconscious story. Okay. Now, kind of take it back to you are the main character in your life. In your inner world, you absolutely are. And because that's the most important thing, and you can't prove other people exist or don't exist. And, a lot of people have issues anyway. Live your life like you're the main character. Absolutely. What am I getting sent? Okay. So, since you're the only human that subconscious knows, everything you say, remember you're telling stories about other human beings, because you are a human being, it believes it about you. Okay. So if you make general statements like, um, people suck, well, you're the only person that your subconscious knows. So your subconscious says, oh, so you suck, or people are terrible. Um, People are mean. People are okay because you are a people. Your subconscious thinks it about you. It's kind of like, yes, the subconscious is part of you, but it's kind of like um, when parents are divorcing, okay, and there are kids involved. So this child who is part mom and part dad, okay. So if the mother says to the child, your father is a bad cook. No, I don't want to say that one. Needs to be more character. Um, your father has no sense of humor. Okay, we'll use that one. So if a mother says to the child, your father has no sense of humor, then that child internalizes that because they know they're half their dad. So if I am half dad and dad has no sense of humor, then I have no sense of humor. So you can see how that can go bad fast, right? Like your dad is an a-hole, then the child's going to be like, oh, well, I'm dad's child, so I must be an a-hole. So it's like that. That's how we absorb, how our subconscious absorbs what we say about other people, because it's like we are half subconscious, half people, person, human. Okay. So to the subconscious, it loves the part that interacts with it. But whatever you say about others, it believes that about you because you're part other, right? All right. Hi, Adrienne. Thanks for being here. Hi, Artisan MC. Thanks for being here. Oh, Nina's going to change all of her mean passwords. Keep the cuss words, though. Love those. Okay. So Artisan MC says, in turn, the child may try to be overly funny to prove to mom that they'll try to prove to mom that they're not like dad, or sometimes because this comes from the subconscious, they try to be overly funny to prove to mom that that the child and dad can be funny, right? Because if the child can be funny, then dad can be funny, right? Then that means mom's wrong. Remember, kids don't think logically. They're more subconscious than ego. So they think more like dreams than they do adults, which actually probably makes life funner. Okay, so when we're projecting, okay, this is our biggest concerns, our biggest insecurities about ourself. So this is yet another way where we're going to internalize, okay? So our insecurities, our concerns are often what we project onto other people, okay? It's like this. It has to bother you to bother you, okay? So I know, no, I was gonna say mouth sounds when people are eating, but some people have that like that misophonia. So it goes beyond being a pet peeve. Um, okay, words. Those end up being pet peeves, right? Like people mispronouncing words. So what's one I hear a lot? Especially, especially instead of especially. There's no X or C or K at the beginning of the word, right? So it's especially. Um, which again, and that's pronounced different regionally. So sometimes we'll say especially, and then somebody will be like, it is especially. Or people who say irregardless, and then somebody wants to say that's not a word. It is a word, by the way. However, don't say it. Um, so the thing is that that for it to bother you that much, it means there's something about you that places value into pronouncing words correctly. Why are you placing that value? Right? In the grand scheme of things, we live in a world where eggs are, $10 and there's genocides and slavery and all kinds of things. Who cares? I don't care if people say especially or irregardless. Um, for it to bother somebody, it means they've placed value on being the way that they think is right. So if I think the right way to pronounce the word is especially, um, I've placed value on that. Why? And a lot of times you'll find it's because someone else punished them for not pronouncing words correctly, be it a teacher, a parent, another person, maybe they got made fun of, maybe they used to have a speech impediment. There's always something that made them place value on the right way to do stuff. So it's not just, what do people say, grammar police? And although I am a little bit of a grammar police, but there is value. So think about your pet peeves. Think about the pet peeves that you have. Okay. And think about why they have value to do it your way, not the way other people do it. Is because you were made fun of, because you got in trouble, or you saw somebody else get made fun of or got in trouble, or, everybody that you've known who, does this, they're mean. And so you're afraid to be mean. So you're never going to do it like that. And you'll never let anybody else do it that. If I'm afraid to be mean, that means I have the propensity, I have the ability. And a lot of times we forget that we have the ability to be kind and we have the ability to be mean. We have the ability to lift people up and we have the ability to tear them down. Everyone has those abilities. Life is a balance, right? So you have the ability to give life and you have the ability to take life. We all have that ability. We don't have to be afraid of it. The more we ignore the sort of negative parts of us, or the parts we don't like, the more they try to jump out when we don't want them to. Okay. Artisan MC is agreeing with me. Thank you so much. Hi, Lawrence Ross. Yeah, I kept hearing you're just like your dad, and I said thank you. Good. Oh, Adra Capoy says, ask me a question. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some people, um, that bugs them. I think it's just switching the K and the S, AKS instead of ASK. And then I think people just get in the habit, it becomes like slang or just a way people say things, right? And so that kind of stuff doesn't necessarily bug me. Lawrence Ross says most in the Black community get punished for speaking the Kings correctly. Oh. Well, I mean, and that could kind of go into acts, right? Or especially, or, specific pronunciations of things, is that you get shamed for pronouncing it in, the Queen's English or the King's English, which again, we're supposed to be American, not a British colony, but that's a whole other conspiracy theory. Hi, Venom. Thanks for being in here. You haven't missed much. We're only 19 minutes in. You're good. Okay. So when we have a pet peeve, when certain things bother us so much, it's because we have a value system, and that value system is protecting an insecurity. So when we project, meaning I am taking my insecurity or some negative thing about me or something I don't like, and I'm absolving myself of it by putting it on you. Okay. I'm taking it off of me and putting it on you. That's my defense mechanism. Okay. So sometimes it can be really obvious that people are projecting. Like if you accuse somebody of like being a snitch, like you're the snitch, right? Only for everybody to find out that it was you all along, right? Like you call me a snitch and everybody's mad at me for being a snitch, and then everybody finds out, "Oh, it was you. You were the snitch." But it's like that person, whoever did that is so insecure and worried that, you'll be found out that you're the one that's been snitching. So you accuse another person and then you watch that person be like castigated and berated and get punished, and it makes you feel relief and a bit more secure, right? Like it makes you feel a little less insecure about that you've been doing something wrong. Okay. So again, think about pet peeves and what we value, right? And so we will try to avoid accountability. Okay. I mean, that again, that can be human. As we mature, as we grow, as we get older, we then start placing value on accountability and saying you're sorry and making up for your mistakes, all of those things. We start to place value on those as we get older, but I mean, kids don't. So at some point it switches, but a lot of it has to do with maturity. And again, it's similar to an insecurity because we start placing value on authenticity and truth and accountability after somebody has lied to us, been fake, done all these things, and we want to avoid that. So we, we're never going to make somebody else feel the way we were made to feel. So then we place this huge value on never doing that because we know we have the ability to do it. Okay. That's what I kind of want to get at is that you have to know that you have the ability to do it to put the value on it. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So other times it's not as obvious as that, right? Like where you say somebody stole the cookie and then that person gets in trouble and then everybody finds out it was you that stole the cookie, right? Like that's projection and it's just like baseline, totally basic, super obvious projection. Okay. Other times it's a little bit different. Hi, Allie. I don't know what that means. All right. But thank you for being in here, Allie. Okay. So I'll give you a complicated example. Okay. And then try to explain how that works. So if you feel that you are the most qualified for a job, okay, so you're the most qualified for this particular job. However, another person is selected for the job. Okay, we'll say it's a promotion. Okay, because you're still going to work there. So you're the most qualified. You fully believe you are the most qualified for the promotion. Somebody else is selected for the promotion. Okay. This is where we get insecurity, right? Like the self-doubt kind of creeps in, but you're telling yourself no. And you're being very rational. I have more experience, I have more seniority, XYZ, right? Self-protection, right? You're telling your mind what to value. Okay. I have more seniority. Um, I have more experience. I'm better, selling the Whoozy Mitsits than anybody else. you know, my productivity is higher. You start telling your brain, value these things. Value, 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 right? As protection to cover up the self-doubt, right? Like, why them? Why would they be picked? Why would they be picked over me? I totally thought I had it. Okay. And a lot of times we're guessing because maybe you don't know what's on that person's resume completely or how they did in the interview or any of that. So we immediately, when the self doubt creeps in, we start telling our subconscious what to value, right? This is a salve. We've been injured. We're salving this bruised ego, right? Okay. So in doing that, by lifting ourselves up as better than this other person, if I'm great, they're not great, right? Like I'm not bad, they're bad, right? It can't be me. So they must have, this is where we start saying things like, they must have slept their way to the top, um, manipulated somebody. Oh, they're friends with the boss's wife. We start projecting things, but in projecting those things, it's generally things that we have thought about, right? Even jokingly, right? Like the only way I'm going to get that promotion is if I sleep with the boss, right? Subconscious holds on to that. Subconscious doesn't know that's a joke and later will project it onto somebody else. They must have slept with the boss's wife or the boss. They must have manipulated that somebody, must owe her money or, we start putting these things in that we've told subconscious is how people are, i.e. me, right? So you project your faults, the mistakes, these thoughts, insecurities, um, onto the person to prove to the big boss that they're wrong, right? Like, so now we're talking to the boss every day. Hey, Allie, quick question. How old are you? I may have to really watch my language. Sometimes there's kids in here, guys. So, um, we'll all be careful of our language, okay? All right. So, we're trying to prove to the boss, right? I'm not bad, they're bad. You gave them that job, and instead of me going to the boss and saying, "You made a mistake. I think you made a mistake," right? And saying the good stuff about us, right? Which we already said in the interview, right? Talking to the boss about what are other promotion opportunities can there be? What do you need to see from me? What was lacking? We don't want to talk about what was lacking, right? That's insecurity. We we don't want to do that. And if we sell ourselves too hard, then it makes it seem like we're trying too hard and we're insecure when we're actually insecure. So, when you don't get the promotion, you start thinking, should I even stay here? Should I find another job? There's a lot of insecurity that creeps in. So instead of going to the boss, to the big boss, and having a conversation one-on-one about you chose this other person, but I want to talk about what's going on between us, right? Like, what do you need to see from me? What was lacking in the interview? What can I work on? What do you need from me for us to be on the same page? They don't want to have that conversation. Insecurity makes us not want to have that conversation, right? So we got to beat up the person who got the job. Now, this person over here who got the job, they're so unsuspecting. They put in for the promotion, they interviewed and they got it, right? Like they literally did nothing wrong. Nothing. We should be congratulating them. But because we don't want to have the conversation with the big boss, we start talking to everybody. Um, you know, oh, well, I bet she slept with the boss. Well, I don't know. I saw what kind of car she has, and there's some extra money there. I don't know what's going on. Or, you know, I think one time I heard the boss hanging out with a woman named Sue, and I know that she has an aunt named Sue, so she's probably related to the boss. Like, just talking and talking and making stuff up and projecting all this mess that has no basis in reality to somehow prove to the big boss that they made the wrong decision. But we always know what happens, right? Like the person who's spreading the gossip, reaching, lying, making stuff up, they're the ones who end up looking foolish in the end. When we project, we look foolish in the end. Okay. I'm thinking maybe Adrian, can you time out Allie because she's not answering, and I think maybe grown-ups need to be comfortable to be able to talk. Hmm. Hi, INFJ. I know that test. I'm just going to call you Tyrone. Um, why people don't want to go back to an office or even work, right? Like people take it personal, right? Like, uh, and it's a job, you know what I mean? But it's a hit. Man, it's a hit. And you're thinking, I don't know if I want to go back there. I don't, they must not support me. And again, now we're projecting things onto the big boss of what he must be thinking when he never said any of that. It could be something really simple. It really could be something simple. I mean, heck, it could be something positive, right? Like, no, I wanted to give her the promotion for this particular one because she does have some experience in that, but we're starting a new program, and that's where I actually want you to go. But I couldn't talk to you about it yet. I have plans for you. I have thoughts for you. I didn't realize until the interview you knew how to you knew how to put together whatchamacallits. And we're getting ready to start a whatchamacallit division. So yeah, she's taking that promotion. You're going to take over this division, right? Sometimes it's just we literally have no idea, and we're projecting everything everywhere. Like she's terrible, awful, rotten, horrible person, and the boss is an awful, rotten, terrible person, and we're picking up the person who got the promotion and just beating the boss over the head with her. And it's right. It's all projection, and it's all based on our own insecurities. Okay. This is where gossip comes from, by the way, which is really hard not to get involved in. But that's where gossip starts. It's insecurity, right? Like I can set myself up in a stable place by making other people appear unstable. It's sort of like that. I don't have to be the fastest runner. I just have to be faster than the last person when the bear's chasing us. I mean, it's based in insecurity. So in this way, we force other people to carry our load, like my load of self-doubt or insecurity or faults, mistakes, negative thoughts, all of that. Because I project it onto somebody else, I'm forcing them to carry my issues. Then they have to clean up the mess, right? Like when all the gossip's going on and their reputation's taking a hit, again, this is just somebody who applied for a promotion and got it. Like that was it. But now we've decided that they're sleeping with the big boss and that they formed a cult, and we've made up all of this stuff. So they have to deal with the loss of their reputation or clearing up all the lies and the reaching and the BS and all the stuff that's been said, right? Because of all this projection. Because whoever gets projected on is now carrying everybody's insecurities. Okay. All right. So we talked about pet peeves. So I'm going to skip that part. I got a new notebook, so now it's like really stinking heavy. Okay. Lawrence Ross says, when your supervisor got promoted over the 5-year supervisor, he stormed into a meeting demanding why. The boss said, you did one good thing, repeated over 4 years, while the other did 7 good things in one. That's the thing, right? Like, ask the question, and then you know that the boss is looking for you to diversify your talents, right? Cross train, get some different skills, talk to the boss and see what the boss actually wants and what the plan is, and I would be mad too, if I was a supervisor for 5 years and there's a supervisor for 1 year and we both put in for the promotion and they got it, but you gotta have the hard conversation, like, okay, why? Because if another promotion comes up, I want to make daggum sure I'm getting that one. Okay. All right. So I already talked about pet peeves. Man, I just got so ahead of myself. Character judgments. Why does it bother you? Okay. Back to injection. Okay. So every time you say something about somebody else, it reinforces an insecure thought about yourself. Okay. Your subconscious hears it and says, yep, I knew that about people. I knew that. And it's still true. Okay. Now, the difficulty comes in that sometimes we have to have honest conversations about people and sometimes about groups of people, right? And we also don't want to be rainbows and sunshine all the damn time. We cannot be Pollyanna all the time and speak to our inner child, and our subconscious like it's not intelligent, right? So we have to find ways to understand that the things that we say, our subconscious is going to want to absorb. So when we are being authentically ourselves, speaking authentically about other people, hard conversations, and we got to talk about stuff. We can't just ignore it and go frolic in the field and pretend like nothing's wrong. We have to be in this air of authenticity and truth, right? When you're in that air and in that place of authenticity and truth, there's already the thought in the back of your mind that this does not apply to me. Sometimes it might, and you got to do the work, but you can be talking about, okay, you could be talking about, I watch videos about Karens getting their just desserts. So I could be, having a conversation about women acting in a racist or entitled or racist and entitled way. And my subconscious, is immediately going to perk up and go, hey, aren't you a woman and aren't you white? Does that apply to you? Now, what I have to, say is I've done the work, right? Like, I'm talking about these particular people who believe whatever they're told and then operate in a violent way, based on those beliefs that they've internalized. So, it's that holding it, or like snitches, right? We were just talking about snitches. Okay. So, if you're talking about that somebody keeps running to the boss and telling the boss every little thing that everybody is doing for no good reason, and you need to have a conversation about how this is going to be handled. We need to have a conversation with the boss. They've done this. You're being authentically you. So your subconscious knows that you hold value in not being that. It already knows that. So you're not reinforcing an insecurity. It always goes back to being authentically you, unapologetically who you are, just being you. That's where subconscious is very balanced. When we have a lot of insecurities and self-doubts and mistakes that we don't want to deal with, then insecurity is looking for ways to confirm those to us. Hopefully that's making sense. Okay. How do we get past projecting? Because again, it's a defense mechanism that is kind of a human defense mechanism. You have to learn to not do it, right? So the first one is understand that your emotions are just information. That's all feelings are, right? There's sensory information and there's emotional information. Think about the word sensitive. It can mean either one. It can mean that you're hyper aware of your five senses or you're hyper aware of your emotions. All of these things is just information. These are everything that we bring in is based on our different types of antenna, right? Think about like when you get scared and the hair on your arm raises up. That's literally antenna, right? Like your whole body is becoming hyper aware when you get scared, right? And the fear is also telling you something, right? Like there's danger. That's what fear tells you. Okay. That's all emotions are. It's information, the same as sensory information. So view that as information. And, we've talked about you have a logical mind, you have an emotional mind, and you have to put all of the information together to be wise. So when we have emotions, we can't be reactive. Okay. Now you can sit in your house and have all kinds of reaction because sometimes we got to get it out. You know what I mean? But if we take a beat and just say, what is my emotion telling me? Why am I feeling it so strongly? Okay. So a lot of times our emotions are like an early warning system, right? Fear, depression, anxiety, um, all of that, guilt. All of it is like it's like a warning system. It's just information. Don't yank the whole battery out of the smoke detector when it goes off. Okay. Check for fire. Prevent fires when you get the warning system, right? Like you feel the feelings. Don't yank the battery out and just ignore everything. Also, don't react and say the entire house is engulfed in flames and we're all going to die. If you hear the smoke detector, see if there is fire, right? The bigger the emotion, the bigger the alarm. So it's just information. So we don't have to be reactive and immediately do something about it. Second one, not every emotion means that you're projecting. Okay. So just because you're having an emotion doesn't mean you're projecting, but every projection is tied to an emotion. So if you find yourself being, if you catch yourself before you project on somebody, or you catch yourself gossiping, or you catch yourself blaming person A for something person B did just because they may know each other, you know, when you catch yourself, figure out what's the feeling. Am I mad? Are my feelings hurt? Am I sad? Am I lonely? Am I jealous? Figure out what the emotion is. Then you can figure out why you're feeling that way. Like, what's the insecurity? What's it tied to? What am I valuing here? And why did I place value on this thing? Right. Number 3, grant yourself some grace for your faults and mistakes, or whatever you were told about you. You know, we're all humans, right? Like humans make mistakes, humans fix stuff. Nobody is perfect. And I say this, perfect is boring. And I don't mean boring in a good, stable, consistent way. I mean nothing would ever change. Like there would be no surprises. There would be no well-timed dark humor. There would be no silliness. There would be, I mean, it would just, right? Like our quirks, our faults, our mistakes, our silly little weird things, our, all of those things are actually what makes us interesting. So the more perfect you try to make yourself, the more you make yourself exactly like everybody else. And then what's fun about that, right? You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. That's okay. I'm me. And if I behaved in a fake way and I tried to be fake and be what other people wanted me to be just to get them to like me, then I got to maintain that. And at the end of the day, I know they don't like me. They only like the fake version of me that I sold them. So forget it. I don't want to do that. Just going to be me. So give yourself some grace, give yourself some leeway, give yourself some wiggle room for your quirks, your faults, your mistakes, for things other people told you about you. I mean, you can figure out you without other people having to tell you about you, right? Just accept that we're all human and so are you, right? One of the ways that we can do that, because sometimes that's kind of hard, but one of the ways we can do that is think about somebody that you care about quite a bit, right? That you're always there for. You have a good reciprocal relationship with them, a good trusting, solid relationship, and pretend in your mind that they're going through the same thing you are, right? Like give them the problem in your mind. We're pretending, we're role playing here. What advice would you give them? A lot of times, again, because we are injecting, we are assuming that we deserve to be treated like crap, that it's our fault that things went wrong. We must have screwed it up somehow. You know, we just immediately want to go to that. We don't give ourselves good advice and we don't grant ourselves grace. So, but if it was my best friend going through this, I would have so much good advice for her. You know what I mean? So when we're going through something, we can literally pretend in your mind that it's somebody you care about going through it. What is the advice you would give them? What would you tell somebody else? And then take your own advice. People get told that all the time, right? Take your own advice. All right. Everybody's being so quiet. I did time out the child because I wasn't getting any responses nor any full words. So we can speak freely. Okay. Number 4 out of 5 things you can do about projection is number 4, awareness. Just being aware, right? Know what your insecurities are and explore them. Know what you feel. Now, we can all be like, well, I mean, I'm pretty insecure about, how I look or, my nose or, you know, my pinky toe. You know what I mean? Like, because those are obvious things that like we see every day. Every day when you look in the mirror, you don't like how, let's see, one earlobe is bigger than the other or something. I don't know. And you see it every day and you don't like it. And so you're like, yeah, I know my insecurities is my earlobes or my pinky toe or whatever. Insecurities, again, think about the shadow. This stuff starts in childhood. It starts with people telling you about you. It starts with how much shame and guilt you were put under, what you got punished for, what society told you about yourself. It's those are where the insecurities are. So know what your insecurities are and explore them. Explore them, decide if they're valid or if it even came from if it came from somebody else and you actually don't believe that about anybody else who has that same quirk or fault or whatever, then let it go about you as well. Um, or even that you care anymore, you know, then just, let the insecurity go. Oh, Nina's smiling. Okay, Adrix says we're here. Okay. Phew. I couldn't even get a whole spelled right word out of that little child. So I'm like, are we four? How young are we talking here? Okay. So in this awareness, look at your automatic responses or things that can easily activate you into action, right? Um, Another word to say is a trigger, but I tend to call them automatic responses, right? Things that can activate you into a particular action. Like, oh, I used to know somebody that if anybody ever said that he's stupid, even if they said you're being stupid or you're acting stupid, or they're even playing around, like, he's so stupid, he would throw things. Like he would get so angry, right? Now we know that comes from an insecurity from somewhere, right? So there was somewhere in there in his subconscious that he felt stupid. And, possibly he had somebody that he loved and cared about, a parent, I don't know, who kept making him feel stupid, right? So our automatic responses will tell us as part of our awareness, where's my insecurity? What am I easily activated? And how do I respond? When I'm activated, what is it that I do? Do I run and hide and isolate from people? Do I get mad and throw things? Do I start crying? Do I have an anxiety attack? If you can start to recognize the things that create these automatic responses, then you've identified insecurities that you have. We've all got them. Don't think that you don't. We all got them. It's so funny. I said to somebody, like, we all have insecurities, and they were like, well, not a narcissist. And I was like, you don't understand narcissism then. Narcissists are actually the most insecure people. The most. They are more insecure than anyone. That's literally what narcissism is based in. It's this on steroids, right? Everything, their entire reality is gaslighting, projection, defense mechanisms, deflecting, like everything, magical thinking. Like it's all, their entire personality becomes a defense mechanism because they are so insecure on the inside. I say it's like Men in Black, the first one where they were at the restaurant and there was this very tall guy and the aliens get shot and his face, comes open. Hopefully you guys remember what I'm talking about. And there's this little tiny squishy inside, right? But he was this like big giant dude, he's very big, very square jawed, looked really tough. But then when it opens, he's this little silly squishy guy. That is narcissism. That's exactly what narcissism is that there's this very sensitive, squishy guy on the inside who was hurt so much, they had to cease to exist. And they create this facade of protection. Okay. Adric Hopoy says scary people, no judgment. Narcissistic people? I mean, they can be. I tend to think psychopaths and sociopaths are scarier. So, and just so you guys know the difference, they don't call them psychopaths and sociopaths anymore. They change the names of stuff all the time, but a sociopath does not have a conscience. So there's no guilt, no shame, no empathy, no sympathy. They have been so traumatized that it was like burned out of them. So if you don't have a conscience and you're unable to feel guilt, empathy, or sympathy, um, you'll do whatever, right? Because the world is all about you, because I don't care about anybody else, right? Um, Whereas psychopaths tend to become so emotionally overloaded that they will react in any way, right? There is no barrier, there's no guardrail, there's no like value system that reins it in. You know what I mean? So people who are psychopathic get so flooded with emotion, anything could happen. Anything. Okay. Hi, Leon. You are late. We're almost done. So you're gonna have to like replay game. Oh, scary in respect of walking on eggshells. Um, just a side note, if any of you guys deal with people who are diagnosed narcissistic personality disorder or they have narcissistic traits, um, the absolute best way to interact with someone like that, especially the more emotional they get, and then they'll turn around and tell you they don't get emotional, right? Like, why were you yelling at me? I wasn't yelling. Why were you mad? I wasn't mad. While they're clenching their jaws and making fists. Anyway, is to become like, okay, like, a robot who's going to come in here. um, or like a business deal. You were angry. You did these three things: A, B, C. Then they'll blah, 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 blah. They'll accuse, they'll deflect, they'll project, they'll gaslight, da, 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 da. And then you're like, as stated, you were angry. You did A, B, and C. You become completely flatlined because the thing that they're trying to do in using that narcissistic mindset as the defense mechanism, like, I have to be the smartest creature in the room. I have to be the best creature in the room. I have to be the best looking in the room, the most emotionally stable, the most everything. Like, I have to be the best person in the room. So if somebody is accusing me of doing something, then I'm going to do everything in my power to negate that. I'll change reality, I'll gaslight, I'll deflect, I'll project, I'll make it their fault. I'm going to do everything, right? Because the feeling is it's certain death if you see the squishy guy. Like, if the squishy guy is exposed, it's death. Life is over. It is the absolute worst thing that could ever happen. Again, these are defense mechanisms, right? So they want you to start having emotions. They want you to get mad. They want you to yell. They want you to be upset. They want you to get flustered because then they can go, no, actually, you're the one who's mad. Oh, you accused me of yelling, but now you're yelling. And all I was trying to do was fix the problem. You see what I'm saying? So the best way to deal with them, to slow down the fight, to get them to give up and walk away on whatever was going on, is to not give them any emotional energy, because they're going to use it. So you have to stay flatline, monotone, no matter what defense mechanism they're using. Maintain your specific talking points that you started with, repeat them like a broken record, don't give them anything, and eventually they have to walk away. They will continue to try to up the ante, though. Be prepared for that. So if this is somebody that is prone to or could become violent, or physically violent, choose your battles. Figure out a safe way to do those things. But that's usually the best way. Oh yeah, Adrian's in here with the robot. Y'all Borgen says sounds like Gray Rock. I don't know who Gray Rock is. I'm sorry. Cynical optimist. Yeah, you're late. And that's the thing too, I always start like right on time. I have a value with that. Who used to be late all the time? Me. So now I'm like, I hold a value system for other people's time so much so that I watch the time, right? Like if I plan, we are so close to an hour. If I plan an hour, I want to end on the hour. Now, I'm not ending right this very second. um, but when I say I'm going to start right on time. But I do notice with a lot of like podcasts and lives and stuff, um, the creators give everybody time to get in. And so, the first like 20-30 minutes is fluff and greeting and networking and seeing about each other and checking in with each other and those kind of things. And so I got to look at that, right? Because I start talking and here's my notes and here's the points. And so then when people come in late, they're like, you're already 75% of the way through, So I have to watch that. Okay. Adric says, good advice. I'll try. Thanks. Yeah. It's hard because, especially with somebody who knows you well, they know all the buttons to activate you. They know your insecurities. They know how to activate you. They know what to say to get an emotional reaction. And again, they will keep upping the ante until you start fighting about the thing that they accused you of instead of the initial thing you came to talk to them about. Then they won. So it's hard. It is so hard. So good luck. Practice makes perfect. I hope it's helpful. Lauren says, pay no attention to the person behind the curtain. Right. Right. Like you're trying to be the great and powerful Oz, and you're just this, silly guy who can fly hot air balloons behind the curtain, which again, that's interesting. You know what I mean? Like, just be you. Be authentically you. People are going to like you or they're not going to like you. And at the end of the day, if some people don't like you, who cares? Not everybody's going to like you. You can't be everything to everybody, So if you're authentically you, you have no facade to keep up. You have no fakeness to maintain. You got no lies to watch and lie on top of a lie to keep the lie of the first lie and the second lie. We don't need any of that. Just be you. Be you. All right. Leon says we need that 4-minute countdown. You guys are always late. I'm sorry. Okay. I will make and use a 4-minute countdown. Yeah. Because I do want to give people time to get in and not be so, we're going, hurry. And then, somebody's like, I was only 5 minutes late, So I'll start using a countdown. I'll be a little more greeting people at the beginning. I have to think about, it's like, going to an event or going to a party or going to a dinner, right? I'm not going to come in, sit down at the table and start shoveling food in because it's dinner and dinner's at 7. I need to come in and say hello to people and greet people and check in with people and see how they're doing and not just, lift up my plate and start shoveling food in. Okay. Y'all Borgen says it's a term where you interact with someone without emotions, usually towards a suspected narcissist. Okay, so it's gray rock. Huh. Why is it now it's sounding vaguely familiar? For some reason, when I read it the first time, I'm thinking like a Marvel movie. And I like Marvel. I'm like, wait, I don't know gray rock. But now it sounds familiar. But I don't know. I'm not going to say I absolutely know where that's coming from, but it's right anyway. It's yes, I'm completely bland. I have no color. I have no emotion. I have no movement. I am here. I'm completely monotone. I will not move off of the point that I came here to speak to you, no matter what all kind of names that you call me and say I do this and that and I'm always this and accuse me and push my buttons and no, this is what I came to talk about. And this is what we're going to talk about, right? Or you can give up. Narcissists don't like to give up. They will say things like they'll do a stonewall tactic where if you are staying in the business tone, the gray rock, the robot, right? And they're not successful in making you react, then they'll say something like, I just can't talk to you. You want to argue about everything. And then they'll leave. They'll make one last accusation where at the end of the day, it's still your fault, and then walk away. Okay. So at least you've given them nothing. The argument ended earlier than it normally would have. You didn't concede anything, and you've maintained your sanity for another day. That's really all the farther you're going to get. Yael Borgen says, I heard it from Dr. Ramani. I may have to look at Dr. Ramani. Okay, Cynical Optimist says, my guardian taught my siblings and I how to diffuse situations at a young age. Very useful lesson. Oh, yeah. That's a great lesson for kids, right? Problem solving, de-escalating, diffusing situations, those kind of things. Oh, and then Cynical Optimist says, always trying to get in the last word. Right. Because the narcissist is their own narrator of life. So the last thing they say is reality. This is why when they change reality and gaslight, it actually has become reality to them. They 100% believe what they're saying. The reality of the real reality ceases to exist in their mind. So that's why they have to say the last word, because they're setting the tone. They're stating what is reality. I can't fight with you. You always want to start with me. You're always picking fights with me. And then they storm off, right? They'll say one last thing because then that becomes reality. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Adric says, TMI, I've been hovered over 7 months. I don't know, Adric. I don't know what that means. Yeah, tell me what that means. I don't know what that means. Okay. Number 5. All right. Be open to constructive criticism. This one is hard too. Because we can generally be open to constructive criticism from people that we trust. We know that they have our best interest. We know that they want us to be successful. So they know how to speak to us where we can hear it, right? They're not going to come in confrontational. They're going to be like, hey, so I was watching the live and, your incessant saying the words, really got out of hand. That's something you should probably watch. Maybe put a little post-it note up or something. Quit saying, all the time. Or, you know what I mean? Or I hope that makes sense. These are all things they say, but you guys know that. Then we're like, you're right. We could even be like, I did not even notice. I don't even remember saying that. But we believe them because we trust them, right? And we know they just want our best. And so we can take the constructive criticism without feeling defensive. Okay. Where it's hard is that sometimes people will accuse us of things or say things about us. There might be a little bit of truth in it. We can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Sometimes we have to actually consider it. Like if somebody calls me a B word, I have to think about, I'm going to pause. I'm going to take a moment. Was I acting like a B word? No, I wasn't. Or, was I acting like a B word? Yeah, I was a little bit bossy in that moment. However, it's not appropriate for you to call me the B word, right? I was just telling you what I needed you to do. So let's keep it fair and equal. You know what I mean? But we have to consider it sometimes, right? If we are defensive immediately, again, that's a reaction, right? We are activated into an action as soon as we're defensive. Being defensive, being argumentative only delays the process, right? Again, you're the main character. I'm the main character. So anything that's thrown at me, I don't know, it could be a suitcase that's got an extra life in it. It could be the ammo that I need for the next level. It could be, if I'm the main character in the game, you know what I mean? So I have to eat the fish and take the bones, leave the bones of everything that happens. So I have to think about it for a moment, right? Also, if we pause for a moment and we think about it, our reaction, our actions that we then take from the initial, is going to be more wise, because in that moment our logic mind can catch up to our emotional mind, and then we can be like, I'm gonna think about this for a little bit, and I will respond. Just not right yet. Let me think on it for a little bit. I'm gonna put it together. Okay. Now, if some of it's right, take accountability. Honestly, there's no safety in being perfect. The more perfect you are doesn't mean that you are free from harm. It doesn't mean nobody's gonna, dislike you. Even if you're perfect, somebody will still dislike you. There are bad people in this world, right? Like, you're still open to be harmed, even if you're perfect, right? Even if you're just like a super people pleaser and you make everybody happy, there's no safety in that. There's boredom in there's boredom in being perfect, trying to be perfect. And the more you try to be perfect, the more you stress yourself out, right? Nobody's perfect. And anybody who tells you that you have to be, maybe they're a little narcissistic. Hope that makes sense. Cynical Optimist says, reminds me of pathological liars. Yeah. That's also a defense mechanism, by the way, pathological lying. Like, there's some insecurity or feeling really unsafe for the truth to be out, especially about themselves. So they will lie, double down on the lie, triple down, tell a lie to cover the first lie, because there's something that feels really scary and unsafe about the truth about themselves. So they're just not going to do it. Y'all Morgan says, don't let them suck you back in. Y'all know what Adric is talking about. Oh, okay. Adric explained. Yeah. That's okay. Grant yourself some grace. It's okay. Right? Like, think about the story of you. So you're in this chapter, in this story of you. All of you can do this, right? Like, they're not just like singling Adric out. You're in this chapter, right? So think about what is the big challenge right now? Like, what's the big monster? Who's the level boss? Who's the, what's the forest that you have to get through, or the, the building that you have to clear in this level, whatever. Think about what is the challenge of this chapter. Then think about what happens in 2 chapters from now. What do you want to be going on in 2 chapters? Right? Like, skip all the hard part. You have this challenge. What do you want it to look like 2 chapters from now? If you know what you want it to look like 2 chapters from now, then all you got to do is figure out how to get from here to there, right? If I know and we're not writing fairy tales. This is the story of our life, right? It's not like, well, I'm here right now and eggs cost $10. And in 2 chapters, just 2 short chapters, I want to have $100 million. Like, okay, we're not, unless you win the lottery, you know what I mean? That's probably not going to happen, but if in 2 chapters you want to be, it's kind of, in this economy, it's a pipe dream for all of us, but I want to be paying all my bills early, or I want to have my car paid off. You know what I mean? Because right now the big challenge is money. So in 2 chapters, I want my car paid off. Then all you have to do is figure out how to get from this to 2 chapters. Then you know what the next chapter is. It's resolving this challenge, right? Identify the challenge, know how you want it to look, then just connect the 2. I make it sound easy, but I mean, we all know life's hard, right? It's usually the middle chapter that's the hardest, right? Like, I know what I got right now. I got to go through a whole bunch of mess to get to 2 chapters from now, which can be really hard, right? Okay. All right, I'm caught up on the comments. All right. We went well past an hour. I appreciate you guys hanging in there. For those of you who missed the first part, please go back and watch. Yeah. Good, Adric. I'm glad that resonated with you, that made sense to you, just the next 2 chapters, right? We all know the ending. We all know all of our endings, right? We know what the final sentence is of the final chapter. We just have to decide what kind of book is this too? Like, who wants a tragedy? Do you want a comedy? Do you want an adventure? Right? And we can have all of it. You can have your romantic interest in your adventure book where there is some mystery, and actually it got a little bit like a Greek tragedy, and then it ended up being like a travel blog. Right? Like, this is your story. Have everything in it if you want. Okay. Lawrence Ross says discipline. Yeah, man, isn't discipline hard? But sometimes discipline is hard when we know where we are right now. We know we don't like it and we want it to go away. So we think in 2 chapters, I don't want this to be here. Well, that doesn't tell you what is there. Like, I always tell people, if you tell me what not to do, you're never telling me what to do. I only know what not to do. I got to know what to do. Okay. So if I don't like this and I want it gone, then what do I want instead? How do I want it to look? And then connect it. Like, that's where we lack discipline, because all we really know is I don't like this right now. I need the plan. I need to create some structure that I can then discipline myself to. I can have goals. I can write my chapters when I have the outline of the story. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. This coming Sunday, pretty excited. Glad there's no kids in here right now. Kids, if you're watching the replay, plug your ears, because this Sunday we're going to talk about self-sabotage, and the live is called Unfuck Yourself. So you guys know I don't really cuss, and so I actually giggle when I say it. I am a grown-up, I swear. But this is about when you feel like you've effed up your life, or you've effed up royal, or you're effing up now. Things that you keep doing that are effing stuff up. That is called self-sabotage. So we're going to talk about, how do you unfuck yourself, getting away from self-sabotage. So I'm pretty excited about this coming Sunday. I hope you guys can be here. I've got most of my notes ready. I was really hip on it. Otherwise, we will have Shadow Work Wednesdays again next Wednesday. I'm deciding between two topics right now, again, that I'm pretty excited about. So I hope I can see you guys this Sunday. If not this Sunday, then I'll see you guys next Wednesday. All right. Have a good night. Bye.